Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate your time. The intent of this next presentation is for us to be healthy and strong and not just skinny. We're not talking about how to get skinny here. A slim person can still be very unhealthy. So long skinny, and say hello to strong, healthy, happy, energetic, flourishing, and feeling fabulous. That's what we're talking about. The foundation for our greatest happiness is our health. We know all too well that when we don't feel well, or we can't physically move the way we want to, it affects us in every part of our life. Not feeling well, it's such a worry, such a concern. It can take over. A healthy lifestyle reduces that stress. Eating a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet lays the groundwork for optimal health and permanent weight loss. In this presentation, we're going to discuss a global perspective of obesity and why personal responsibility is just one part of it. Eating for pleasure, a little bit about emotional eating and eating disorders, the health effects and consequences of excess weight for both children and adults, type 1 and type 2 diabetes, reversing and preventing diabetes, permanent weight control, and of course, strategies for success. This session takes just under an hour. I'll pop back in 3 times to recap important points and check in. Remember, it's always helpful to review the questions for reflection and discussion before we begin. So now grab your notebook, get a healthy snack, and let's get started.
So first, let's get clear on the global perspective of obesity because it's an issue all over the world. 30% of the world's population is overweight or obese. It's projected that 50% of the world will be overweight or obese by the year 2050. There are 2.5 times the number of overweight people as people who are undernourished. Obesity is directly responsible for 5% of worldwide mortality. Being overweight costs us $2 trillion per year in healthcare costs and lost productivity. But wait, what exactly is $2 trillion? Well, you could buy 82 million VW Jettas. You could pay the salary for almost 30 million teachers or annual base pay for 120 million Army privates. $2 trillion is a lot, and as nations, we pay a lot of money for healthcare costs and lost productivity due to obesity. We can't afford this. A multi-pronged approach to solve it are necessary. There is no one single answer. Continuing to look at the big picture first and the global view of obesity, please note the graphic at the bottom of this slide. It's from the World Cancer Research Fund International. They have a comprehensive view of food policies that include the 3 main areas of 1. The food environment, 2. The food system itself, and 3. Personal behavior change. They call this the nourishing framework. According to the World Cancer Research Fund International, we need to do a lot of things. We need to address the marketing of foods and our food environments, or where we get our food. We need to change the size of our food portion. And even our dish sizes. My grandmother's dishes are so much smaller than mine. So food portions are normal sized and not supersized. Everything's so supersized now. We need to address what people think is a healthy weight. When a young school child weighs as much as an adult and has numerous health issues, that places a burden on that child's future. We need to increase healthy food education and levels of personal responsibility. You'll notice that personal responsibility is important, one aspect of the problem, because there are other factors too that have contributed to our growing obesity problem across the globe. Professor Christina Roberto at the Harvard School of Public Health says, "While we acknowledge that individuals bear some responsibility for their health, we also need to recognize that today's food environments exploit people's vulnerabilities and make it easier to eat unhealthy food. Ideally, governments, industry, and societies would work together to improve food environments, and they would develop smart food policies. However, Barriers to that include heavy advertising, especially aimed at children and adolescents, and lobbying efforts by industry. For example, the beef and livestock industry spent $7 million on lobbying and another $5 million more to members of the U.S. Congress in one 2-year election cycle. That's $12 million spent by just one corporate group to get more of what they want from our elected politicians. So the reality is that we are getting larger. 2/3 of adult Americans are now overweight. About 2/3 of dieters yo-yo. Their weight goes up and down, up and down, up and down, which is harmful to our bodies. Low-calorie diets are also known to cause unhealthy effects on our body because, feeling so hungry, we binge. After weight loss, people easily put back on more weight, which is also unhealthy. A stable, healthy, lifelong weight is the goal. Today, 33% of adult Americans are obese, while in 1960, only 13% of American adults were obese. That's almost 3 times as many obese people now as when I was a little girl. As many of you know, your body mass index, BMI, is a measurement health professionals use. BMI is our height divided by our weight. It gives us a quick idea of where we are relative for our height. For example, a tall man can carry more weight than a short man because of his height. The most dramatic change in obesity rates have occurred since 1980. From 1980 to the year 2000, obesity rates doubled. Dr. Colin Campbell, among others, calls it an epidemic. So how did this epidemic occur? Well, as we just discussed, obesity is due to more than our personal willpower. Remember the nourishing framework identified 3 major categories. 1, the food environment, 2, the food system itself, and 3, personal behavior change. Well, many of us do fall victim to unsafe and unhealthy food environments. Well, just think of gas stations. When did they turn into junk food emporiums? We can find junky food just about anywhere these days. Knowing that we have unhealthy food choices everywhere, psychologist Doug Lisle wrote a book called The Pleasure Trap. He wanted to understand more about why we make poor choices when it comes to eating. Why, when we're pumping gas, do we need a sugary coffee drink and sticky pastry or ice cream? Okay, so we all seek pleasure. We all want to avoid pain and conserve energy. That's part of the human condition. The caloric density of food and how hungry you are determines levels of pleasure, or rush, you receive. You know when you make that face and go ooh and ah when you bite into something so rich and delicious? That's a food rush. Right, yeah, similar to a drug rush. Junk food is very unnatural, but it can be so pleasurable because it's calorie dense. If you think you might be hungry, junk food might feel good. For example, chocolate is mostly sugar and fat and measures about 2,500 calories per pound, more with nuts. French fries are made up of fat, salt, and bits of potato. They also equal 2,500 calories per pound. Ice cream is mostly fat and sugar. It equals about 3,000 calories per pound. Conversely, there are about 435 calories in a pound of sweet potatoes, about 385 calories per pound of carrot, 235 calories per pound of apple, and 80 calories per pound of tomatoes. Instead of craving that calorie-dense food, eat healthy foods more frequently so you don't need that rush or hit of sugary, fatty, salty, high-caloric, rich food. Eat healthy foods every few hours so you feel full and happy. 3 real meals a day. A few snacks are totally acceptable in the vegan, whole food, plant-based lifestyle. When people are so tuned in to eating for this level of pleasure, is it any wonder so many of us are overweight or obese? The standard American diet, remember the oh-so-sad diet, is broken down into 51% oil and refined carbohydrates, 42% animal food, and 7% vegetables and fruit, But wait, 2%, 1/3 of that are potato chips and French fries. So French fries and potato chips count as vegetables for the vast majority of overweight people. This all adds up to about 95% of what we should not eat. The standard American diet is called SAD and is the opposite of the vegan, whole food, plant-based diet. Look at the graphic on this slide. See how they recommend that we eat 5 servings of grains, 3 servings of beans and lentils, 4 servings of vegetables, 1 serving of nuts and seeds, and 2 servings of fruit. This is very similar to the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine Power Plate we talked about in the chronic illness presentation. So when we're talking about health, healthy weight for life, and a way to prevent and reduce diabetes and other chronic illnesses, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about grains, legumes, fruits, and veggies with a bit of seeds and nuts. We'll keep talking about all of it and how to shop, prepare, and eat out with friends during all these different presentations. Have you ever heard of the term neuroadaptation? It basically means you and your nervous system just get used to it. Think about getting in, wading, and then swimming in chilly water. After a bit, you feel warmer because you got used to it. Eating food is similar. Taste buds do change. We don't have to fall victim to extensive advertising and the offering of junk food wherever we go. We're better than that, and we don't have to fall victim to the unhealthy food industry's ploys to have us addicted to unhealthy food to make them more money. Instead, we can recalibrate and reset our internal system. Give yourself 2 to 3 months to truly reset your internal system, but you can tell the difference in a few days. It works. People go through the same thing with addiction to alcohol, drugs, and cigarettes, and we have to reset our tastes and internal systems. Now, researchers also tell us that you can train your brain, and that shows up in brain scans. Published in September 2014, scientists discovered that eating healthier foods more often increases that particular food's reward value. By measuring people's MRIs before and after 6 months of eating, the study participants who reshaped their food preferences had significant changes in the reward center area of their brains. Yeah, there are physical changes to your brain when you train your brain to eat healthier foods. So you can do it, and it does work. So you can find your way home to health and happiness. Are you living in a temporary pleasure trap? You can recalibrate and escape that trap. Here's an idea. Trick your body with a 1-day fast. Yeah, you can do this. Don't eat for 1 day, but do drink a lot of water. Allow yourself to get hungry and then eat a wonderful, tasty, super healthy meal. That will help reset your body and recalibrate your taste buds so you can go back to how you're supposed to be. You could do the same thing with a 2-day juice fast, but don't go any longer without a doctor's supervision, especially if you have any concern about prediabetes or diabetes. Begin to think about and understand why you have lost your way. This takes some reflection and digging into our personal thoughts and emotions. Be kind to yourself. Treat yourself with love and respect. As you uncover some of the causes for your excess weight, it's important to always be kind to yourself. Beating ourselves up, it just doesn't help. And never forget that good health helps us feel happy. We each have a personal, social food environment. Being overweight spreads through groups of friends and families. Weight loss can be socially contagious too. Isn't that a great phrase? Socially contagious behaviors are just like cold or flu germs, in that they can spread quickly through groups of people. Negative socially contagious behaviors include food or alcohol abuse, binging, or bullying, while positive socially contagious behaviors include saying thank you, eating healthy foods, kindness, cooperation, even empathy. We often act in the same manner as those we identify with. We know it's true with kids and teenagers, and it's the same with adults. What kinds of groups do you identify with? We eat according to what and how they eat. You might think, well, if they're eating this way, it'll probably be a good idea for me to eat this way too. When we learn about others' healthy behavior, it influences us to eat healthier too. But keep in mind, you can also help others to make wise food choices. You can be the leader of your group. Just for fun, let's take a minute to see a few celebrities who are obviously thriving and eat only a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet. Alicia Silverstone, Ellen, Olivia Wilde, Natalie Portman, Kristen Bell, Emily Deschanel, Woody Harrelson, Jared Leto, Tobey Maguire, and Carrie Underwood. Here's a few more. Robert Cheek, Carl Lewis, Leonardo da Vinci, Thich Nhat Hanh, Russell Simmons, James Cameron, Albert Schweitzer, Pamela Anderson, Al Gore, and Cory Booker.
Well, that was fun. Now we know that who we affiliate and identify with, we emulate. We eat what they eat, for better or worse. These past few minutes, we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about how obesity rates are increasing across the world. No pun intended, but it is a big problem. You'll remember that personal responsibility is important, one aspect of the problem, because there are many other factors too that contribute to our growing obesity rates across the world. Remember that today's food environments exploit our vulnerabilities and make it easier to eat unhealthy food. Now, in these sessions, we focus on personal responsibility because we each have the ability to make wide food decisions every single day. Addressing the policies of the global food industry is a way bigger task than deciding what to eat for dinner. One thing we can do right away is be mindful of the pleasure trap. It's so easy to fall into. Instead, we can recalibrate and reset our systems. Do eat healthy foods more frequently so you don't need that rush or hit of sugary, fatty, salty, high caloric rich food. Eat healthy plant-based food every few hours so you feel full and happy. 3 real meals a day and a few healthy snacks are completely, totally acceptable in the healthy, whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Next, we're going to talk about emotional eating and the consequences of extra weight.
Let's shift our attention to a specific and socially contagious behavior now, emotional eating and eating disorders. Please note the website listed under the title. It might be helpful for you, and there's many others. Why do some of us continuously, mindlessly overeat? Well, comfort, reward, other people, frustration, sadness, boredom, distraction, anxious, for stress relief. Eating to fill an empty place inside with food is not a healthy way to deal with our emotions, but it's very common. Eating to fix our problems usually ends up making us feel worse. I know it does for me. I feel guilty and sick after eating junk, usually sugar, and it doesn't work. People try to manage their moods with food. It can happen to any of us. There are 5 common causes for emotional eating, which include stress reduction. People crave salty, fatty, sweet foods because it gives us a big rush, energy, and all sorts of pleasure in our brain, like Dr. Lyle talked about in his pleasure trap theory. Stuffing emotions. For some, it's easier to silence emotions and stuff them down instead of facing fears and emotions. This is avoidance and using food as a buffer for unpleasantness. My mother would bring me treats when I was sad. One time, about age 25, I was crying over a breakup. My mother brought me a big dish of ice cream. It was then I realized part of my issue with food. She wanted to help. She didn't know what to do or say, and so she brought me ice cream. It was a sweet intention, but I did not need to stuff my emotions. Feelings of emptiness and dissatisfaction with life. Eating is a great distraction for more important thoughts and feelings. Habits. If we're used to eating dessert after every meal, that's a habit. If we're used to always eating chips with our sandwich, or going for the supersize meal deal, that's a habit. Habits can be broken. It takes some time, but can be well worth it. Socially, when everyone else is eating, it's easy to eat more and pig out. Overeating can be socially contagious. Some people also feel nervous when out with a group and eat more when there is more food around. People also eat more when drinking or partying with friends. Now, eating disorders are more serious than everyday emotional eating. Find ways to deal with emotions without food. Find better, healthier ways to express emotions. Keep a diary and note what you eat, where, when, and why. Take a walk, work out, or call someone on the phone. Take a bath, read a good book. Pick up the hobbies you used to enjoy or start new ones. Do something that feeds your soul, not your stomach. Get professional help if necessary. Emotional eating can lead to eating disorders, and there are several kinds. Eating disorders are complicated because they're not about food, and they're often complicated by depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, self-harming disorders, alcohol or drug addiction. Overcoming an eating disorder involves rediscovering who you are, beyond your eating habits, weight, and body image. It also involves learning to deal and recognize the emotions that you have in healthy ways, rather than using food, whether by obsessing about it, avoiding it, or binging and purging as a substitution for dealing with scary emotions and feelings. If you suspect you or a loved one may have an eating disorder, please seek professional help. Choose healthy food options, exercise, sleep, and relax. Continue to work on your healthy lifestyle, hang out with supportive friends, and stay away from toxic people who bring you down. An important step is to find the triggers that set you off so you can break the pattern. When that feeling hits, and you know that feeling, see if you can wait 1 minute. See if you can wait 2 minutes, then 3 minutes. Try to identify what you're feeling and learn from that. Keep stretching out the time so you can hold off from overeating. What can we learn from that 2, 3, 4 minute time? You're not alone. There is help available, and a healthy lifestyle can really help. Have you heard of attuned eating? It's a new concept that may help us rethink how we think about food and weight. It makes a lot of sense. This is adapted from the work of Karen Kratina, PhD and registered dietitian. The principles are as follows. The goal is to enhance you and your family's health. Being thin does not necessarily mean that you're healthy, fit, and strong. You want your children or grandchildren to grow up with healthy body images and relationships with food. Eat in response to body cues, like what it feels like to be full and not stuffed. Eat until you're almost full. Don't stuff. Learn to feel what your body feels like. Get in touch with the signal your body sends you. Are you truly hungry, tired, or simply thirsty? Traditional diets don't work. We talked about yo-yo dieting before. People feel hungry and restricted, so then they go eat a bunch of food they know they shouldn't. And then they feel bad, so they eat more to drown out the bad feeling. Then, since we blew our diet, we might as well blow it big time. It's a constant vicious cycle. At least that's what I used to get trapped in. A more effective goal is to enjoy a healthy lifestyle and think of all the fun things we can do and all the delicious foods we get to eat. Listen to your body as you learn more about healthy nutrition choices. That's what this class is all about, to learn more about healthy nutrition and to adopt a healthy lifestyle. We're talking about a lifestyle, not a diet. Exercise and have fun. Play. Run around with your kids, go for a hike, play with your dogs. You'll exercise more if it's fun. And do learn to accept yourself. There is only one of you. Let's look at some more numbers now because our kids' longevity is at risk. Since 1970, U.S. childhood obesity rates have doubled. Since 1970, U.S. adolescent obesity rates have quadrupled. 18% of children are obese today, and 30% are overweight or at risk for becoming overweight. Why does this matter? Well, overweight children are at high risk for becoming severely obese adults and suffering from a number of chronic diseases, many of which can be prevented with a healthy diet and lifestyle. The health effects on overweight children include the fact that 70% of overweight youth have at least one risk factor of cardiovascular disease, such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, hardening of the arteries. Doctors have seen this in children as young as age 10 and even younger. Obese adolescents are more likely to have prediabetes, bone and joint problems, sleep apnea, serious social psychological problems, and poor self-esteem. As a teacher and middle school assistant principal, I saw all sorts of students in a range of sizes and shapes in school every day. Some students weren't happy with their larger sizes. They were unhappy about who they were and what they looked like. Clothes were a problem. They were teased. It was a challenge. Long-term risk factors include heart disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke, a variety of cancers, and osteoarthritis, which is when the protective cartilage on the ends of our bones wear down over time due to the excess weight pressing on our joints. As the size of children increases, other changes occur as well. Girls reach puberty much earlier and thus have more circulating estrogen to deal with for the rest of their life. This can influence breast cancer rates later on. Boys can also develop breast tissue, actual breast tissue, buried amongst the fat that some boys now carry. It's hard for boys of any age to grow breasts, but especially so in middle school, when any sign of being different can be a challenge. Healthy eating, exercise, good sleep habits, and relaxation lower the risk. Moving beyond middle school, beyond high school, and beyond, let's talk for just a minute about excess weight and relationships. We know that heavy, larger-sized teenagers date less than their peers. Dating is hard enough anyway. Intimacy is especially challenging for the overweight and obese. We all experience challenges managing new relationships. That's normal. Extra weight adds to that stress. It gets complicated too. What if one person wants to lose weight and the other doesn't? What if that one person sabotages the other's effort to lose weight? What if their large sizes makes it hard for them to be physically close? There's all sorts of emotional complications regarding excess weight in intimate relationships. Even our national security is at risk with the large numbers of overweight young people. Recently, retired admirals from Maryland issued a report citing obesity as the #1 reason young adults can't serve in the military. Nearly 1/4, that's 25%, of all Americans aged 17 to 24 are too overweight to serve. Now, this is not only affecting people who can qualify for military service, it's also creating challenges for the active duty military. Whoever thought that fat could harm our brain? Well, it does. Excess body fat is associated with declines in understanding, increased risk of Alzheimer's, decreased processing speed, decreased attention, and deficits in organizing, planning, and decision-making. The term for organizing, planning, and decision-making is often called executive functioning. We all need this brain activity, whether we are executives or not. It really just means that we're able to think and organize, make plans and decisions. We all need to do this each and every day, all day long. Is obesity as dangerous as smoking? Is this the future we want for our youth? Do we want half our population to be overweight? We can prevent this. And just to reiterate, some of the effects of being overweight are as follows: coronary heart disease, angina, heart failure, high blood pressure and stroke. As many as 118,000 cancer diagnoses were related to obesity in 2012. Researchers estimate that a quarter of all obesity-related cancers in 2012 were due to the rising average BMI in the population, and therefore were realistically avoidable. Moreover, obesity influences the reoccurrence of some cancers. Being overweight triggers type 2 diabetes and contributes to high levels of cholesterol in the blood. Because high levels of cholesterol are associated with eating animals, people who eat a lot of animals and cheese are often overweight. People who eat just plants are not. The list of hazards of being overweight continues. There's an increase for risk for metabolic syndrome, which is the name for a group of 5 risk factors that raise our risk for heart disease and other heart problems, like diabetes and stroke. It was only identified about 20 years ago, yet according to the American Heart Association, about 15%, that's 47 million Americans, now have it. You can have any one of these risk factors by itself, but they tend to occur together. And you must have at least 3 to be diagnosed with metabolic syndrome. Number 1, a large waistline. Number 2, a high triglyceride level, or you're on medication. Number 3, a low HDL level, and remember that's the good cholesterol, or you're on medication to treat it. Number 4, high blood pressure, or you're on medication to treat it. And number 5, high fasting blood sugar, or you're on medication to treat that. People who are overweight have an increase for osteoarthritis caused by stress on their joints, sleep apnea, hyperventilation syndrome, which is a very complicated breathing disorder, as well as reproductive problems and gallstones.
Many of us eat for emotional reasons. The big takeaway here is that we can break that pattern of unhealthy eating. It takes some energy and a willingness to try. We can also listen to our body as we learn more about healthy nutrition choices and a healthy, active lifestyle. Think of all the fun things we can do and all the delicious foods we get to eat. That's what this class is all about, to learn more about healthy nutrition and how to embrace a healthy lifestyle. Remember, we're talking about a lifestyle here, not just a diet. Our goal is to be strong, healthy, happy, energetic, flourishing, and feeling fabulous. We can do this. Being overweight and obese costs us individually, costs our nation with escalating healthcare costs, and lost productivity. And it's a threat to our young people's future. It doesn't have to be this way. Take a moment right now to think about you and your family. If excess weight is a concern, please seriously consider transitioning to a healthy, plant-based lifestyle today. Next up, we're going to discuss diabetes, which complicates everything.
Whole food, plant-based, vegan diet leads to optimal health. We can eliminate obesity, we can maintain a healthy weight, and we can have more fun. Okay, so let's start with a simple 7-question diabetes pretest. True or false? Diabetes only affects older people. Diabetes does not kill you. Mostly men get diabetes. You cannot prevent diabetes. Diabetes only affects rich people and nations. Diabetes care is not costly. Preventing diabetes is too hard and expensive. Well, you can see from the big red X that all the statements are completely false. If you have type 2 diabetes, you can reverse it, and if you don't have it, you can prevent it. Wouldn't it be great to live in a type 2 diabetes-free zone? Well, we all can. As you probably know, there are two types of diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is often called juvenile onset diabetes, but more and more adults are being diagnosed with type 1 each year. Type 1 accounts for only 5 to 10% of all diabetes cases. Approximately 1.25 million children and adults have type 1 diabetes. We're really not going to talk too much about type 1, except to say that researchers are finding more environmental factors that contribute to it than just genetics. Children's environmental factors include high birth weight, rapid infant weight gain, cow's milk, and gluten early in an infant's life, as well as very high levels of stress due to death of a parent, constant family conflict, or a serious accident. The other diabetes, type 2, is much more common, and that's the one we're going to focus on because it's so closely related to excess weight and thus preventable and reversible. We've seen a 33% increase in type 2 diabetes from 1980 to 2011. The rates keep increasing due to high levels of obesity. In 2012, 29 million Americans, that's like 9% of the population, had type 2 diabetes. In 2012, 86 million Americans, that's like 27% of the population, aged 20 and older, had pre-diabetes. This is up from 79 million in 2010. Symptoms for pre-diabetes can be very mild or even unnoticeable. You must have a fasting blood sugar test to diagnose. Type 2 diabetes occurs hand in hand with obesity, which is why we combine these topics in the same presentation. Type 2 diabetes used to be called adult onset diabetes until so many kids acquired it due to their diet and lifestyle. Now everyone just calls it type 2 diabetes. It's a sad commentary on our health to change the terms to include more people, especially children. Let's specifically talk about type 2 diabetes. So we know type 2 is very different than type 1. Type 1 diabetics have lost the ability to produce insulin, which is required by our cells. Type 1 diabetics must carefully monitor their blood sugar and inject insulin every day of their life. When we eat food, it's turned into glucose for fuel. We must have glucose, we must have fuel. Insulin helps the glucose get used by our cells. When we have type 2 diabetes, we're resistant to the insulin and thus have too much glucose floating around in our bloodstream. That's why doctors test our fasting blood sugar level, which is glucose, in our body's fuel. Symptoms of type 2 diabetes include being tired, thirsty, having frequent urination, and blurred vision. However, sometimes the symptoms are so mild that they're unnoticeable. Women who are pregnant often have no symptoms of gestational diabetes, so it's super important to get checked out. Over time, diabetics are at risk for heart disease, kidney problems, vision loss, nerve damage, amputation, and more. Diabetes is a problem all over the world. The International Diabetes Federation can give you more information. Globally, half the people with diabetes don't even know they have it. 1 in 12 people across the world has diabetes. In 2014, the U.S. expenditure for diabetes and healthcare costs and lost productivity amounted to $612 billion. The prediction is that by 2035, we'll have to add 205 million more people to the diabetes roll call. North America and the Caribbean have the highest rates in the world. There are a number of serious complications from diabetes. 2 to 4 times as much heart disease, 2 to 4 times the risk of stroke. 70% of diabetics have high blood pressure. It's the leading cause of blindness in adults. It's the leading cause of end-stage renal kidney disease and dialysis. 60% of lower limb amputations are due to diabetes. Now, the foot you see in the photo has a skin ulcer, which often leads to amputation. These kinds of sores are very common with diabetics. One of the many complications include nerve damage and poor blood circulation. These problems make the feet vulnerable to skin ulcers that can worsen quickly and are difficult to treat. A non-healing ulcer that causes severe damage to tissues and bone may require surgical amputation, and that could be a toe, foot, or part of a leg. Well, it certainly looks very painful. If you have type 2 diabetes, you can reverse it. If you don't have type 2 diabetes, you can prevent it. Healthy weight loss is the #1 recommendation because being overweight can keep your body from making and using insulin properly and can also cause high blood pressure. As your intake of complex carbohydrates goes up and animal-based fats go down, diabetes decreases and health and wellness increases. Healthy, regular exercise is the #2 recommendation. We all need to exercise a minimum of 150 minutes a week. Just 20 to 30 minutes of exercise per day, every day, reduces our risk of type 2 diabetes by 40%. Work on increasing the distance, if you're walking or running, before increasing your speed. You'll build up more endurance. But do something fun and active every day. Prescription drugs and medication only help, because currently there's no cure for diabetes. Studies have indicated that it's very effective to treat diabetes with lifestyle changes, which also benefit your entire health and well-being. Studies have indicated that some people can reduce or even eliminate their type 2 diabetes medication with safe, healthy food and regular exercise. Metabolism is your rate of digestion. It's how fast or slow our bodies break down our foods. Think of it like a fire. We can build a big roaring fire or a flickering, feeble little flame. Our metabolisms are the same. If we don't eat enough food, or we eat too infrequently, our metabolisms slow down and our energy levels will be low and unstable, like a flickering fire. If we eat too much, we feel sluggish and will likely store fat. When we eat a plant-based diet, we burn more food more efficiently and quickly. Food is burned up versus turning to fat. People who eat a plant-based diet get to eat a lot. It's really fun to not think about quantities and simply eat. We eat 3 meals a day, a few snacks, and are happily super energetic and very regular in our food waste system because of all the fiber we eat. Harmful elements like cholesterol get swept away and are not stored in our bodies. We never have gastric distress, bloating, constipation, or any of those other uncomfortable sensations. Our internal fires are roaring.
Diabetes is diabolical. Type 2 diabetes complicates everything and can lead to some pretty horrible outcomes. Rates are skyrocketing around the world. There isn't any cure, and medication only helps. Ideally, we prevent it with a healthy weight and healthy levels of exercise. We can reverse it too, using the same method. Healthy plant-based food, healthy weight, and lots of exercise is the not-so-secret formula. Permanent weight loss is possible, and we dive into that now, along with some strategies for weight loss success. And then we're going to summarize and close the session. I know you can do this. You're going to be amazed at how excess weight just falls off of you as you continue to eat a lot of delicious food every day. Do this as a family and think of all the fun that you can have together on this journey towards health and vitality. After the session, do go back to those questions for reflection and discussion. You might want to write about them in your notebook or simply talk with each other. Either way, do think about them as you take the risk of feeling fabulous.
You can achieve permanent weight loss and maintain a healthy weight with a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet. In one study, eating unlimited amounts of a whole food, plant-based nutrition, participants lost an average of 17 pounds in 3 weeks. Calories? Carbs? Forget counting. The type of food eaten is more important. Plant-based, fiber-rich food helps us feel full. Reset your metabolism with vegan, whole food, plant-based nutrition, which means your body is working harder and burning off calories. This is called thermogenesis, our internal fuel-burning fire. Well, can you eat plant-based junk food? You know, it is available, but candy, plant-based pastries, donuts, cookies, and chips every day, well, it's not healthy. These plant-based refined carbohydrates are full of sugar and are refined, not whole grain. Whole food, plant-based nutrition is the goal. So think of a whole sweet potato instead of a cookie if you feel like a filling sweet snack. Yeah, eat a whole sweet potato, why not? Pop it into the microwave, maybe sprinkle on some cinnamon, and enjoy. People spend a lot of money to lose weight. You don't have to. Eating a plant-based diet, it's not expensive, and it works. The American Obesity Association says medical costs are about $100 billion a year for our being such an obese nation. Now remember, for the world, it's $2 trillion. In the US, it's about $100 billion. Individuals spend about $30 to $40 million per year out of pocket to try to lose weight. Most of this money is spent on gimmicks, short-term fixes, and only line the pocketbook of someone else. Some quick weight loss schemes may work in the short term, but they won't give you the radiant health in the long term. That's what this series is all about, your family's radiant good health and longevity. This series of presentations is about helping you regain your power through knowledge. It's about helping you use your initiative to take care of you and your family without gimmicks, with research-backed sensible ideas. No magic potions, no quick fixes, no calorie counting or math problems in the supermarket aisle. Delicious foods and regular exercise will give you a permanent healthy weight for life. The goal is long-term health and wellness. This includes how to achieve and maintain a healthy weight for life, which we go into now. In other sessions, we continue to talk about what to eat, how to shop, prepare meals, and eat out. You will enjoy a wide variety of whole food, plant-based deliciousness. Remember that when you eat a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet, you can eat a lot of really delicious food all day, every day. Are you serious? Permanent weight loss with whole food, plant-based carbohydrates? Yes! Carbohydrates are compounds found in foods, and we need them for energy. We'll talk more about carbohydrates in more detail in another session, but just remember that carbs are great and an important part of a vegan, whole food, plant-based nutrition. You will lose weight eating whole grain pasta, bread, rice, and potatoes. You know, it's fantastic. Complex carbohydrates are full of nutrition and fiber. They fill you up so you feel full, and then you're metabolized in your body for energy. Carbohydrates are half the calories of fat. Eating a lot of fat just turns you fat. Eating complex high-fiber carbohydrates is your fuel for an active, healthy life. Here are 12 especially good choices of high fiber to get you started. Beans, lentils, potatoes, peas, leafy greens, broccoli, squash, all the various berries, avocados, whole grain pasta, barley, and oatmeal. In a study of 21,000 vegans, scientists showed that people who maintained a whole food, plant-based diet for more than 5 years had a lower BMI, remember that's body mass index, than those who had just followed it for less than 5 years. So it's true. My weight has gone down in recent years without changing anything. Okay, so right off the bat, I lost weight. And then in the past few years, I lost even more. That's weird. That's what you call permanent weight loss. Why would I do anything else? I feel great. So let's talk about everyday weight loss strategies and tips before we conclude this session. Number 1, drink water. I'm going to drink some water. Studies have shown that people who drink more water, especially before meals, lose more weight. A lot of times people think they're hungry or need a pick-me-up when really they're dehydrated, so reach for salty chips instead of water. Drink herbal tea for variety or infuse your water with fruit. I add a splash of lime juice to the bottle of water that sits at my desk. Number 2, snacking at night. Oh, this is very common. At night, we're tired, emotionally and physically. We want comfort. Some people eat more at night, after dinner, than they did all day. So be prepared. Eat a good dinner and drink plenty of water or herbal tea. My English granny always said to eat breakfast like a king or queen, lunch like a prince or princess, and dinner like a pauper. But good advice. A lot of times, I go to bed and get cozy and read because for me it's more about calming down and relaxing, because when I stop and think about it, I'm not hungry. Number 3, sleep routines. It's very important to get enough sleep for many reasons. Doctors are now calling this sleep hygiene. One reason we need to sleep well is for our decision-making capabilities, and that includes making healthy food choices. When we don't get enough sleep, we often can be impulsive and want high-calorie, sugary, fatty foods to liven us up and feel better. When we're exhausted, we often don't make good decisions. Sleep is one critical key to a healthy lifestyle, but especially if we want to lose weight. Simply focus on 2 to 3 pounds at a time, not 50. List what's working for you and review your goals regularly. Be sure to write down your goals. The writing down part is crucial. Visualize how you want to look and feel. Celebrate small wins with non-food events and share your success with family and friends. Buy a new item of clothing and hang it up so you can see it. Shop the perimeter of the grocery store and avoid boxed and processed foods. Focus on the produce department and the refrigerator or freezer cases. There are now all sorts of veganized products like mayonnaise, non-dairy milks, and cheeses, which can be an effective way to augment your meal planning. And we'll talk more about shopping and meal planning in another session. Prepare a lot of food at once. Wash and slice vegetables. Organize bags of snacks. Cook a lot of rice. Roast mixed vegetables. Cook beans for a variety of meals. Make a big pot of something. Freeze half. Organize meals to go, like lunch. Do that all in advance so you're never scrambling for the healthy, safe choice. Stand up and walk around every hour or so. We all get so stuck in front of our computers and at our desks. Stand up and stretch for just 1 minute every 60 minutes to stay in tune with your body. If you're on the telephone, can you walk around or stand up? Eat only till you're full versus stuffed. Learn how it feels to be satisfied. We don't need to treat every day like Thanksgiving. Give up diet and regular soda. You'll learn more about how diet soda can actually cause us to gain weight. They're full of chemicals and are very unhealthy and have no place in a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet. Water, non-dairy iced coffee or tea are all good choices. Make your own sparkling water and infuse it with fruit. Sit away from the food. Don't look at it. Scientists tell us to be mindful of what food we see because we eat more of what we see. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? What kinds of foods do you have sitting out on the counter at home or at work? Healthy fruit, candy, chips? Take away the candy bowls and have baskets of fruit and nuts. I keep a small bowl of raw almonds on the counter, and my husband loves to grab a handful on the way out the door. Likewise, serve from the kitchen versus in serving bowls on the table or platters in front of the TV, so you have to really want more food to actually get up and get second helpings. When food sits in front of us, we end up picking at it. It's great fun at holidays or special meal times, but not every day. When you go to a buffet, scan all the offerings first, then make your plan. versus just walking along the line and piling food on your plate. When I go to a dinner buffet, I put salad greens on the bottom of my entire plate and layer all the foods on top as if it were a salad bar. There's no reason hot food can't go on top of raw spinach or lettuce. And don't be afraid to eat a real meal alone. I love to read when I eat alone. It's better to eat a satisfying, healthy meal alone than grab a bite or junk out on snacks while on the run. There's nothing wrong with eating a real meal alone, even out in a real restaurant. If this is a new activity, simply practice it until it feels more normal. Lots of people do this every day. Eat slowly and savor versus gulping your food. Listen to some favorite tranquil music while you eat, because music is a powerful technique to set your mood to one of relaxation and happiness. We're going to continue to talk about healthy eating throughout all of our sessions. We lose and maintain a healthy weight for ourselves and our family. Take a deep breath. Review and renew your commitment to getting out of the pleasure trap to reclaim the real you. In our stress management session, we'll go over in more depth how to maintain a positive mental attitude despite challenges. Learning a new way to eat can be challenging, and since many of us eat for emotional reasons, stress is tied up with overeating. We also experience stress while losing weight and feeling a new slim and healthy identity taking shape. This is just a brief overview to get you started on the healthy weight for life track. Review your health goals. Do write them down, as the writing part is a powerful aspect of the technique. Visualize your success. See it. Be as specific as you can be. Hold that image in your mind, or better yet, post a picture where you can see it every day, like on your refrigerator door. Keep a journal or a food diary and track what you eat, when and where. How do you feel? Learn what triggers unhealthy or emotional eating. Associate with like-minded, supportive people. If you have toxic people in your life, make every effort to not focus on them as much as the supportive, encouraging people in your life. Remember that much of our behavior is socially contagious. We want to stay smart. Keep learning more about nutrition and yourself. Subscribe to blogs and connect via social media to stay current with the vegan, whole food, plant-based world. It's very active, growing every day, and we're learning new things every day. Reward your success with non-food items and events. Ask for help. We all need help at some point. Ask your friends to hold you accountable and check in with you. I have a friend in one country who texts the number of steps she walked that day to another friend in another country. Living thousands of miles apart is irrelevant with today's technology. Texting the number of steps holds them each accountable, and now they're both walking daily. Know that you can do this. Many people have lost enormous amounts of weight, have reclaimed themselves and their health. The numbers of people who are interested in a vegan, whole food, plant-based nutrition is growing every day. You are not alone. In conclusion, it's easy to fall into the pleasure trap, but we can get out. We can recalibrate our system and get used to new foods and new ways of eating. We can overeat for emotional reasons, but we don't have to. And we can choose to affiliate with healthy, like-minded people. Happiness is good health, and size does matter. Reverse and prevent diabetes with vegan, whole food, plant-based nutrition. Manage healthy weight for life with vegan, whole food, plant-based nutrition. You can do this. You and your family are worth it. Thank you so much for joining me today. The foundation of our greatest happiness is our health. We all know too well that when we don't feel well or can't move well, it affects us in every part of our life. Not feeling well is such a worry, such a concern. It can take over. A healthy lifestyle reduces that stress. Eating a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet lays the groundwork for optimal health. I hope you and your family take the risk of feeling fabulous, enjoy healthy weight for life, and reverse or prevent diabetes. Thank you.